What is going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, y'all? Hope that you all are having a wonderful Thursday evening. I am doing well, baby. I am just tired. But all things are good. Okay, so that's the most important thing, that all things are well. Before we get into part two of Heal Yourself, okay? Awaken to the healer within. Let's do it smart, y'all, because we work smarter and not harder when it comes to your own self-work. Okay. Um Copyright disclaimer under section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay? And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into part two of Awaken to the Healer Within, starting with Kinesiology. I believe that's what it's called. Kinesiology. All right. Kinesiology, Lord Andrew Caldwell already starting off. Kinesiology is the practice of muscle testing. Science agrees that everything in the universe is electromagnetic energy. It is the very foundation of science. Everything you can see and perceive is energy. The art of muscle testing, known as kinesiology, makes it possible to test the human body's response to anything you can see and perceive. Place your finger on the base of your throat. Now, move your finger down about 2 or 3 inches into the breastbone. It is at this point behind the breastbone that your thymus gland is located. Your thymus gland is the gateway to your immune system. Energy that affects your thymus gland in a positive manner will allow you to lock your motor muscles. A motor muscle is any joint muscle. It can be your shoulder, elbow, finger, hip, knee, etc. Any energy that affects your thymus gland in a negative manner results in the motor muscle becoming weak and unable to lock. Any energy that affects your thymus gland in a positive manner results in the motor muscle remaining strong. Although it is possible to demonstrate with any of the parts of the body mentioned, I usually prefer to use the shoulder muscle. Since muscle testing is working with energy, it is important that you understand that your own thoughts are energy. It is possible to transfer your own thoughts, psychic energy, to the person you are testing. If the person doing the testing is not in complete integrity, the results can be affected. It is my suggestion that before you demonstrate this or any other form of energy work, you make a short affirmation. Who we got in the building? Oh, we got Rico the Brad. What's going on, Rico? It's always good to see you in the chat, King. What's up? Hope all is well with you. Kinesiology done with integrity can be very accurate. It is only as good as the integrity of the person using it. Here goes the affirmation. I will accept only those answers that come from the highest source of the person I am working with. Exactly, Rico. All is mind and mind is mental. There you go. Let's see. Now, before muscle testing for anything, always test your subjects first for their normal strength so that you will have a reference to the level of their resistance, okay? Now, this is going to teach you how to do this, okay? Have a willing volunteer stand facing you. Ask them to remove any metal-rimmed glasses, watches, and bracelets that are not completely connected in a circular fashion. The split type of bracelet you can slip over your arm rather than over your hand, as well as any heavy necklaces, including crystals, any objects around the wrist, neck, or face that may interfere with the test. Ask them to hold their stronger arm straight out to the side, parallel to the floor, and resist the downward pressure that you will be applying just above their wrist. You might ask them to show me your strength. Using 2 fingers, not your entire hand, press downward on their arm in a firm but not forceful motion. Note, if a small person is working with a large muscular person, you may need to use 3 or 4 fingers, okay? Do not use such pressure that you force the person's arm downward. You are not intending to arm wrestle, but simply to test normal strength. Feel that strength. Feel the resistance. When something is placed within a person's energy field, it is possible with kinesiology to test whether it will enhance that person's strength or deplete it. This is done by placing the test the test substance in the opposite hand of the one you are testing. Another method is to have the subject hold the material on the bare skin over their thymus while testing. You might want to try placing some sugar in a transparent sandwich bag. Now, apply the same pressure as before. You will find that the person's strength has been greatly reduced. The motor muscles will not lock and will not be able to resist the pressure of your 2 fingers. Now, this time try salt. Most persons will test weak. It is important to understand what your body is telling you. If you test strong, your body is saying, I'll take more of this. It gives me strength. If you test weak, it is saying, don't give me this. It weakens my immune system. We know that the body needs sodium. However, in our Western diet, we get an overabundance of salt in the processed foods we eat. So the body is saying, I already have more salt than I need. And any more will only deplete my system. No questions, go with what you feel. And that's what the part 1, King Anubis, talks about that, like listening to your inner gut, your intuition. If it feels good, go with it. If it doesn't, don't do it. Now, take a battery-operated wristwatch, if you have one, and place the face of the watch into the palm your subject's other hand, closing the fingers so that they can touch the back of the watch. Now repeat the arm test. The person will usually test weak. The battery in the watch emits 1 pulse of energy per second, going directly into the body's electrical system, creating a short circuit and weakening the immune system. Anything that weakens your immune system allows you to become more susceptible to illness. Now, please don't throw your watch away, okay? There is a way to protect yourself from this energy, which we will address later. You will test strong with the standard spring-loaded wind-up watch, without a battery. If your subjects wear metal-rimmed glasses, test for their normal strength without glasses, then ask them to put their glasses back on. Test again. Okay, Andrew, girl. Okay, Andrew Caldwell wanted a little bit of his moment. Let me go ahead and give him some of this. Hold on, where's it at?
And that's one thing. And
you wanted it,
okay,
and you got it.
Okay, you wanted it and you got it. There you go, girl. Okay. Where was I at? Let's see. Test again, and you will find they will test weak. The reason? Our brain has 2 lobes, one side to create and the other side to store information. The brain works electrically, so energy coming from the body enters the metal earpiece and travels the path of least resistance, following the metal frame to the other side of the head. Energy wants to complete a circuit, all right, and will always attempt to find a path if one is present. In this case, it now enters the opposite side of the head, traveling through the body to the metal on the other side. Interestingly, if you attach a metal chain, an accessory for glasses, to both earpieces, the energy will follow the flow or the path of least resistance in a necklace effect, and the person will test strong. You can have a lot of fun at your next house party, demonstrating how the energy of different substances or thoughts affect your strength and your immune system. As we have already established, everything in the universe is energy and has a specific frequency. Therefore, anything you can see and perceive can be tested in this manner. Let us take this a step further. Test your subjects for their normal strength, right? Ask them to repeat the following words one at a time, testing their strength after each word. Insurance, doctor, hospital, right? Where was I at? Hold on, y'all. I had to go over to the comment section. Okay, there we go. You will find that each of these words will cause weakness. Ask them, what do each of these words mean to you? Most often, the answers are, insurance is something I buy because I'm afraid I will have an occasion to use it. A doctor who you go to when you are sick. A hospital is where you go when you are really sick. Each of these words registers in the subconscious mind as a negative word. Therefore, you test weak. Rico says, your body will always tell you what's good and what's not good for you. Exactly. That's why I'm grateful for this information and to share this information with others, because again, here in the Western world, we're just now coming into spirituality as collectively or at large. Like there's a mass awakening. So exactly, people, pay attention to your body. You are with you for the rest of your life. You got to make sure you know who you is, okay, who you are and how to heal yourself, okay? Ask your subjects to say the word healthy. Much to their surprise, most people will test weak. Wow. Healthy is a state of transition, moving from a state of illness to where they would like to be. Now, ask them to say the word health. They will test strong. See, health is the goal you wish to achieve. The lesson is simple. The law of magnetic attraction says that you attract to you that which you focus upon. Therefore, if you focus on your disease, you will always be in a state of disease. If you focus on the process of getting well, you will always be in the process. Ask your subjects to say the word perfection. You will find that they are very strong. See, perfection is the goal, the state of being that most people wish to be in. Many hospitals and clinics are now working with and instructing their patients in positive thinking and visualization. When you focus on your perfection, your total being must respond to the law of magnetic attraction and will gravitate to that which you focus upon. Henry Ford once said, everyone has two choices in life. One, you can do it, or two, you cannot do it. In either case, you are absolutely right. Everyone has two choices in life. Either you can do it or you cannot do it. And in either case, you are absolutely right. Wow. Ask your subjects to hold their arm up and say, I cannot do it. They will be weak. Then ask them to say, I can do it. They will test strong. In either case, they are absolutely right. Every vibration in the universe that we see and perceive is registered in our energy field, in our subconscious mind. Light, sound, color, clothing, plants, trees, air, metals, and the materials of all descriptions. The very air you breathe, the foods you eat, and the water you drink is energy. It is the fuel that your body runs on. Thought is energy. Every thought that enters your consciousness or subconsciousness is recorded instantly and has an impact on you in one manner or another. Negative thought will deplete your life force energy. Positive thought will enhance it. Ask your subjects to say the word fear. They will test weak. Now say love. They will test strong, very strong. Love is the most powerful, positive vibration in the universe. It is love that heals and fear that destroys. Have you ever taken a photograph? Did you ever question how the image got onto that piece of paper in the camera? Do you suppose the folks at Kodak are scratching their heads and saying, well, how do you suppose that happened? I don't believe so. They know that each color has a frequency different from every other color. They know how to coat film with highly sensitive chemicals that each react to a specific range of frequencies. Frequencies from the birds, the bees, the grass, and the trees travel throughout the lens onto the film in a fraction of a second, and a photograph is born. The same thing happens to our eyes. Simply looking at something that is positive energy for you will make you strong. The opposite is true for something that has a negative effect on you. Try muscle testing while you are looking at a beautiful flower. Try again while looking at a photo of a toxic waste dump. Try looking at the beautiful sky, then again while looking at the fluorescent lights in an office. Try testing, as you look at someone you love, then again while looking into the screen of your television set, Now, walk as far away as you can from your television. Look directly into the screen and test again. You will still test weak. The electromagnetic energies travel to you just as energies of your eyes travel to the television. For electricity to work, it must complete a circuit. Not only are all of us energy receivers, we are also energy transmitters. Our energy affects everyone around us in one form or another. Your body is surrounded by an energy field. It is the energy field that is called an aura. This energy has been well documented, and by using special photographic equipment, you can take black and white or colored photos of the aura. This is known as Kirlian photography. Those knowledgeable in martial arts are well aware of the energy fields and meridians surrounding the body. Have you ever noticed that hand movements of those martial artists as they approach their opponent? They are not moving their hands just to be polite, but to center their own energies and disrupt the energies of their opponent. After muscle testing for strength, simply sweep your hand down in front of the body of your subjects. Do not touch them. Test again, and they will be weak. You have disrupted their energy meridians. Now, reverse the process by placing your hand near the knees and quickly rising it up and past their head in one smooth motion. Your subjects will now test strong. You have realigned their energy meridians, girl. You have realigned their energy meridians. Now, standing in front of them, make a large Z with your hand in front of their body with a firm and forceful motion. Test again, and they will be weak. You have interrupted their energy meridians, okay? Now complete your work by moving your hand quickly up in front of your subjects to once again realign their meridians. Kinesiology is a wonderful, entertaining way of demonstrating the effects of energies. However, unless you are a licensed medical practitioner, kinesiology should never be used for the purpose of diagnosing someone else. There are many interesting books that are available on the subject of kinesiology. Your Body Doesn't Lie by Dr. John Diamond is a most appropriate title because your body is incapable of lying. It will always tell you what will enhance or deplete your life force energy. Now we're getting into dowsing. Dowsing, like kinesiology, is another way of using energy to obtain answers to questions. It is possible to test virtually anything you can see and perceive. You may be familiar with dowsing for water or water witching. Now, as a boy, I remember when my grandfather hired a man to come to the farm and to find the most likely place to dig a well. Using a branch from a tree that looked much like the wishbone of a chicken, he held the two ends of the Y in his hands and pointed the other end forward. He walked around the property until the branch suddenly began to vibrate and was finally pulled downward. The man said, "This would be a good choice for your well." You may have seen a serviceman from the gas or telephone company walking around your yard with a couple of metal rods, trying to locate where the pipes or cables were buried. There are dowsing associations, throughout the world that meet to share their discoveries, both old and new. I demonstrate with dowsing rods to open people's awareness of how energy works. As with all forms of working with energy, integrity is absolutely essential. Dowsing rods can be made from two 36 Dowsing rods can be made from two 36-inch wielding rods, which can be obtained from your local wielding supply dealer or a builder's supply. Copper-coated steel works very well, but you may also use copper, stainless steel, or simply straighten out a couple of heavy metal coat hangers unpainted is best. Make a 90-degree bend about 6 inches from the end to form a handle. Your new dowsing rods can now be used to find anything you energize them for. Take a coin, a quarter works well, and while holding the two rods in one hand with the long ends pointed downward, place the quarter in the other hand and rub the coin against the length of the rod and toward the floor. You have just energized the rods to the vibration of the alloy within the coin, and they will now find that alloy or coin. Throw the coin on the floor a short distance from you. Holding the rods by the handle, keep the rods horizontal and parallel to each other, about 9 to 12 inches apart. Now walk slowly toward the coin. As the rods start to pass over the coin, they will begin to cross when they are directly over it, indicating its location. The interesting thing is, although the coin can be under the rug or buried in the ground like the buried cables the telephone man was looking for, the rods will, nevertheless, cross, indicating where the material is. Try this exercise using different materials such as cloth, wood, a potato, etc. Ask your subject to stand up. Then, using only one rod, wipe the rod down with their hands 2 or 3 times. Hold the single rod pointed directly at your subject with the tip 6 to 12 inches away. Ask them to start walking slowly toward you or around you, watching the rod as they walk. If you are holding the rod in your right hand, ask them to move to your left and vice versa. The rod being energized for a specific person will follow that person like a magnet. Now, ask yourself to return, or ask your subject to return to their original position next to you. Hand her a note, or I say it's her, but I'm saying them. Hand them a note with the words, God, I am the ultimate healer written on it. Ask them to read it silently 3 times, then drop the note onto the floor. Point the rod towards your subject once again and ask them to move slowly, as they did before watching the rod. This time, too much to their surprise, the rod will not follow. The reason? The word God vibrates at a frequency of 186 billion cycles per second. Each time you repeat the word God, you raise your own vibrations to a higher frequency. Simply saying God 3 times, in love that is, changes your frequency such that the rods no longer recognize you. Now ask your subject to wipe the rod one more time, then repeat the demonstration. The rod will now quickly respond and follow the higher vibration of the person to which it has been energized. Ask again the subject, to wipe the single rod down 3 times, each time repeating aloud, it will not work, it will not work, it will not work. Point the rod toward the person as before and ask them to move slowly. The rod will not follow. You have just demonstrated that there is no frequency in negative thought. I did not say negative energy, I said negative thought. If you believe it can't be done, it will not be done. If you believe it is not possible, it will not be possible. There is no frequency energy in negative thought. If there is no frequency energy in negative thought, why do people get disease? What's up, Queen Spicy? What's going on? If there's no frequency energy in negative thought, why do people get disease? Here we must define the term negative thought. Disease occurs when a person has a depleted immune system. Disease may not be desirable, but it is not a negative thought. Negative thought is a belief system. It is known for many years that humans could not run the measured miles in less than 4 minutes, and thus no one did. Then a young Englishman named Roger Bannister ran the mile in less than 4 minutes, and in that moment changed the consciousness of the world. Someone had forgotten to tell him that it couldn't be done. Today, if you are unable to run the mile in less than 4 minutes, you probably will not be invited to the Olympics, The Olympics. All your life, you have been told of all things that you cannot do. Now I am going to suggest that you can do all things. Positive thought is also a belief system. If you believe that something is possible, then it is possible. As we move forward in our journey in this writing and in this read-through, we will demonstrate that all things are indeed possible. So you have to get some water. Shout out to that chapter on kinesiology, because it gives you the opportunity to test things yourself. Again, like this book says, don't just take the words that you read and that you hear. Don't just take it, it's just that, actually test it. Go forth, study to show yourself approved. Try it and see. Again, this book is not just sharing the information, but it's giving you tools. It's giving you awareness to practice these things in your everyday life. And trust me, the one thing the universe will not be short about, and that does not run out of, girl, is experiences and opportunities, okay? Now we move on to this one, which reads, does God really exist? Uh-oh. 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 Here go the question of all questions, girl. Life is a series of lessons, okay? We grow not only from our own experiences, but from the experiences of others. Frederick Marat is a sincere individual who has devoted his life to assisting others. His many talents have yet to be discovered by the world. Frederick's life journey, okay, is one that would fill a book, and it is his intent to do so. The following is but one chapter from his life, as told by Frederick. Now, this is Frederick's experience here now, okay? Does God really exist? I have been having a love affair with God since my 15th birthday. Never once did I deviate from that path. No matter how high I rose or how low I fell, not once did I forget my purpose for being here. I have been on an incredible learning adventure that has brought me to where I am today, and it has prepared me for the new adventure that I am now beginning. When I was 15, I had suffered an emotional experience that launched me into a state of deep depression and withdrawal. While in that state, I began to hear a voice inside my head. It kept repeating over and over the words, "Trust me, believe in me, and I will give you strength and knowledge to sustain you through all that you shall endure." I kept hearing that voice for about a week. I began to think that I was going crazy, so I told this voice to go away, to leave me alone. After several days, it said, "Very well, I will go. But if you ever need me, just call, and I will be there." I knew this voice to be that of God, and I knew even then that it was calling me to serve. But I must tell you, there probably is not a greater doubting Thomas living than I. So instead of going along with the flow, I challenged God to prove to me that it existed. It responded by giving me several miraculous signs and by creating an abundance of situations and events that could not be explained in any terms other than miracles. But I still chose to ignore its gentle and loving communication, its gentle way of calling me to serve. So I issued a second challenge to God, okay? This time, I said that there was only one way that God could prove to me that it existed. It would have to bring me to my knees. Ooh. And if it harmed one hair on my head of anyone I loved while doing it, I would spend the rest of my life destroying the belief in it. How foolish of me. I had no idea what I was asking for when I uttered these words. Perhaps it was the doubting Thomas in me that questioned the existence of God. It did not take God very long to respond. After one week, after I had spoken these words, my wife and I left Ohio to drive out to California to pick up my wife's sister and newborn baby and bring them back to their parents' home in Pennsylvania. It was early March in 1968. Spring was on its way, and the weather was beautiful. Not a cloud in the sky, no snow on the ground. It should have been clear sailing all the way. Not so. We had just dropped our children off at my wife's parents and were on our way. Within 15 minutes, we ran into a blizzard that came out of nowhere. We had to drive all the way to Columbus, traveling no faster than 15 miles per hour. In Columbus, we were in a 12-car accident, being hit from the side by a car and from the rear by a truck, which spun us into the guardrail. No one in the 12 cars was hurt in any way, not even a scratch. So we continued on. During this adventure, we had to replace 6 tires that had mysteriously developed huge bubbles in them that could have exploded at any moment during our high-speed travels. At 2 o'clock in the morning, while traveling at 60 miles per hour in the open farmlands of Oklahoma, we hit a horse that was standing in the middle of the road, killing it and demolishing the front windshield. Glass was everywhere, but neither my wife and I were hurt. Not even a scratch. This was also my first of many UFO encounters. For nearly 2 hours before we had the accident with the horse, there was an unknown aircraft with blinking colored lights far off in the distance, flying parallel to our car. From that moment on, I did not need any more proof that God existed. It had answered my challenge to prove to me that it was real, down to the very last word. But God was not through with me yet. Oh no, there was more to come, baby. We arrived in California, picked up my wife's sister and her newborn son. Before leaving, we took the baby to its doctor for one final checkup. The doctor said that he was in excellent health and would make the long journey to his new home in Pennsylvania without any problems. By the time we reached the California-Arizona border, the baby was beginning to cry for hours at a time. As we traveled, his condition worsened until he was crying around the clock and was unable to keep down any of his specially prepared milk formula. We decided to try and find a doctor. The town of Cuba, Missouri, was only about 5 miles away. With half a tank of gas in our car, we decided to fill up in Cuba and drive on to St. Louis, where we thought we would stand a better chance of finding a good doctor. It would have taken us another 4 to 6 hours of driving, but we felt it was worth the effort. We filled up in Cuba and left. The car went dead just 1 mile outside the town. Every effort to start it failed. After about 2 hours, we decided to walk back to Cuba, get a hotel, and call a doctor from there. We contacted a doctor at 1:30 a.m. He met us at his office, just a few blocks from the hotel. After examining the baby, he said we were awfully lucky we didn't drive on to St. Louis. The baby had developed an allergic reaction to his formula milk, which was putting poisons into his system, and had we driven out, the baby would have died. They rushed the baby to the hospital and pumped the toxins out of his stomach. Through the grace of God and its loving intervention, the baby was saved from certain death. These events were beyond coincidence. They were truly a miracle. But the real miracle was yet to come. I had the car towed to a local garage for repair. I left the car and returned several hours later to see what was wrong. As I walked in, the mechanic had a strange look on his face. I asked him what did he find. He said that he couldn't find anything wrong with the car. I knew by the look on his face that there was more to come, so I asked him what he meant. He said, well, unless your car is different from every other car, the only thing I found wrong was that you had a half tank of gas and a half tank of water. Electrifying shivers ran through every fiber of my being. I went back to the gas station where we filled up our car. They checked their underground storage tanks. There was no sign of water, and no car either before or after us had experienced this problem. How magnificent and loving God really is. How very alive and real God is. How gentle and caring God is to take the time to communicate and express itself in the life of someone of such little faith as me. I was humbled and I was brought to my knees. And God, in its merciful wisdom, answered my blatant and sacrilegious challenge to the word without harming one hair on the head of anyone I loved. From this moment on, I knew that I had to stop resisting its calling and accept whatever work that it had for me to do, without any more doubts or indecision. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Shout out to, what's his name? What your name is again? What your name is? Frederick Murat, okay? Talking about, does God really exist? And if you want to, why not try it out yourself, girl? Be careful. That's why it says be careful what you wish for. And that's the thing about God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it. It is just energy. We just given it the title of God to describe its qualities. But that's the thing about we have to be more aware of and conscious of and cognitive of. No matter what we think and what we feel and whatever energy we put out, whatever we focus our thoughts and our energy and our frequency on, it will give it to us. Now, it was so funny how he said, look, God, I need to know if you're real. You have to bring me to my knees, baby, without hurting anyone I love. And look at all those situations that happen, girl. And people will say that's a coincidence. No, it's not, baby. That, okay? You getting what you asked for. Yes, positive energy is the key. Yes, 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 yes. And the nerve of us to ask God to prove themselves to us. Well, that's the thing about human beings. We learning. And sometimes God be like, okay, baby. He be telling the angels, bitch, hold my drink. Hold my blunt. Hold on. Here go our next section. I think after this, we have one more. And then we're going to take a break. And then we're going to get into the remaining of part 2. Who are you? Who are you, okay? I would ask, how does it feel when I suggest to you that you are God? Now, when I propose this question to my audience, I get a few nods of approval and sometimes the raised eyebrow or two. I'm quick to remind them that this is not going to become a religious discussion, okay? We are here to talk about health and the healing process, and it has occurred to me that if we are to understand the healing process, right, we must first understand who we are and what our responsibility is in that process. Imagine, if you will, that the oceans of the earth represent the sum total of the Creator. Out of that giant ocean, you take but a single drop of water and place it in the palm of your hand. Then you get out your microscope and you examine that single drop very carefully. In that drop of water, you will find all elements in exactly the same proportions as the ocean. The Creator is the sum total of its creation. Could there be a creator without a creation? Could there be a creation without a creator? The very term implies that one cannot exist without the other. Science tells us that we have approximately 100 trillion cells in this beautiful body of ours. Imagine that I take a single cell from my body and place it on a plate and then leave. Later, a rather odd NASA scientist comes along, finds the plate and says, "What have we here?" He gets out his microscope, examines the plate carefully, discovers that single cell and exclaims, "Hi, how are you?" That cell could only give one answer: I am rich. Now the scientist places the cell in a lead box, puts the box in a spaceship, and blasts it into outer space. One day, a marooned astronaut discovers the spaceship, opens the box, gets out their microscope and says, "Well, hi, who are you?" Again, it can only give one answer: I am rich. He is my creator, and I am his creation. I cannot deny my creator, nor can my creator deny me, any more than you can deny your creator and your creator deny you. What's up, King Aries? What's going on? What's going on? Every time you step on a nail, 10 trillion cells go ouch. Every time you laugh, 10 trillion cells laugh with you. Every time you step on a nail, the Creator goes, ouch. Every time you laugh, the Creator laughs with you. The Creator is the sum total of its creation. It lives through its creation. No, I did not say you were the Creator. I said you were God. No, I am not God over you, nor are you God over me. You are God only over your own creation and your own reality. It is your universe. I cannot heal you, nor can you heal me. You can only heal yourself. The Creator gave us free will choice. If you are not satisfied with your creation, you can change it. The Creator will not fix it for you, nor will Jesus. When you ask for their help, they will assist you in every loving way possible. But true healing comes from within. You are the ultimate healer. Doctors have never healed a patient. Doctors have never healed a patient. Not even Jesus claimed to have healed anyone. The Master simply said, "It is by your faith that ye are healed." Jesus, physicians, those working with others can only offer the tools by which individuals can heal themselves. We are co-creators with the Creator. The Creator made us in its image and likeness, saying, "Go and create. I desire to experience all that I am. Show me what I am capable of creating. I want to experience my emotions. How can I experience love if I have never experienced fear? How can I experience joy if I have never felt sadness? I desire to experience all that I am." A lamb is born and grows to maturity. A co-creator shears the lamb. Another co-creator takes the wool, washes and cleans it. It is then given to another co-creator who spins it into yarn, and yet another who says, "I believe I will dye this yarn into many beautiful colors." Still, another co-creator says, "I will take this beautiful colored yarn and knit it into a magnificent sweater." Little did the lamb know what an important role it would play for its creator. Everything that you can see and perceive is God. Think of all the co-creation that takes place around you every moment. Recognize the co-creation that you are involved in every day. Be aware of the drama that you have created in your life so that you may experience, learn, and grow. Be aware of how your drama has helped others grow. Baby, I'm telling y'all, and again, I'm applying this in my life. There are times where some self-defeating thoughts will come about. There are times where fear will try to mingle its way into the equation. There are times where uncertainty will be brought to the forefront, but I have to be aware of that. We have to be aware of those thoughts, not to play into them, not to give it our energy, not to harp on it, but to say, in the midst of this, I choose this. In the midst of uncertainty, I choose love. In the midst of confusion, I choose love. In the midst of chaos, adversity, I choose love, which is God, which is yourself. And again, you're not the creator of all things, but you are the creator of your own life. Therefore, you have been made a co-creator by the Creator. And you can manifest things in your body and outside of you, okay? So we have to dig deeper. We have to go past the physical limits. We have to go past what it is that we think we know and cast our nets into the depths of God. And baby, you are there. Even in the depths, even in the darkness, you are still there. Heal yourself. Find yourself. Now, this is going to be the last section before we take our break. Would you recognize God if he, she knocked at your door? A gentleman is sitting in his rocking chair on the front porch of his house in the path of rising floodwaters. A pickup truck drives by and stops. The driver leans out the window of his truck and says, "Mister, can I give you a ride?" "Forget it," the man on the porch replies. "I'm working it out with God." The waters continue to rise, and now the man is sitting on top of the porch roof. A boat comes along, and the boatman, seeing the man's dilemma, speaks up. "Hey, mister, can I give you a lift?" Once again, he replies, "Forget it. Forget it. I'm working it out with God. Forget it." Still later, as the floodwaters take their toll, the man is sitting on the rooftop of his house. A helicopter flies by. Seeing the situation, the pilot hovers overhead while a crewman shouts, "Hey buddy, we'll throw you down a rope. Grab it and we'll pull you up." Shouting at the top of his voice, he says, "Forget it. Forget it. I'm working it out with God." Finally, standing on his roof, up to his chin in water, he looks questioningly towards heaven. "God," he asked, "why haven't you heard me?" Instantly, a booming voice responds, "I done sent you a pickup truck, I done sent you a boat, and a helicopter. The real question is, what are you waiting for?" The Creator works through its creation. A 3-year-old child begged his parents to be left alone while his new infant A 3-year-old child begged his parents to be left alone with his new infant sibling. Finally, the parents agreed. Standing outside the door, they listened intently as they heard their 3-year-old anxiously pleading, "Tell me about God. I'm forgetting." If we are to understand the healing process, we must first understand who we are and what our responsibility is to the healing process. So we have reached the middle of part 2 of Awaken to the Healer Within. Again, if you want to buy this book for yourself, or if you want to read along with me, the link for the book is in the description box at the bottom, as well as the background music that you're hearing. Okay, it's also links in the description box below. Shout out to Cosmic Perspective again for their amazing vibrational music. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, and we will be back in a few. Okay, I'm gonna take me a sip of water, baby, because I need that. Andrew Caldwell was trying my life. Okay, and I don't appreciate it. We'll be right back in a few. Hold on. right, y'all. We are back. We're back. We're back. We're back. I think we have how many chapters left we have? I think we have or sections. I think we have 4 more sections. Let me see. 1 second. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we have 4 more sections left, and I think these are going to be somewhat short. So we're making our way through, y'all. This section is entitled "The Vehicle." Okay, the vehicle. The vehicle was traveling down the street at an accelerated speed. Suddenly, the traffic light ahead turned red. The vehicle applied its brakes and came to a stop at the intersection. For 1 minute, the vehicle obediently remained in place, the engine idling, waiting, watching as vehicles from other directions took their turn crossing the street. As the traffic light turned green and the intersection cleared, the vehicle revved its engines, slipped silently into gear, and eased forward once again. When the road curved to the right, the vehicle also turned right, and when the road bore left, the vehicle responded in kind. Upon arriving home, the vehicle pulled into the garage and rested comfortably in its familiar surroundings, awaiting the next outing. Sitting, cooling its engine, it thought, "I am unable to do anything. I am only a vehicle. I cannot shift my gears or press my accelerator. Why? I can't even turn my steering wheel or apply my brakes. I am only a vehicle. I cannot do anything until someone sits behind the wheel, makes a conscious decision, and takes command of my movements." So often we are told that we are the sum total of our body, mind, and soul. But what does that really mean? In our society, we spend a great amount of time focusing only on the vehicle. When we awaken, the vehicle rises, brushes its teeth, takes a shower, eats breakfast, and prepares for its daily activities. When the light turns red, it stops and waits patiently for it to turn green. When it is ill, it travels to the doctor's office, sits obediently in the waiting room, occasionally smiling at the other vehicle sitting across the room. Occasionally, the vehicle goes to the store to buy some fuel and to shop for a new covering. I mean, after all, why not? There is a big sale going on. It is easy to become focused on the illusion, the vehicle or body, and forget that the vehicle is unable to do anything until a conscious decision is made to give it direction. The mind, the mass consciousness of the universe in which all knowledge exists, and thought, the energy of the mind put into motion. Thought is the energy of the mind. Once thought enters the computer system, the brain, it sets in motion a series of interactions that propel the vehicle into action. Each movement the vehicle makes is preceded by a thought. How long the vehicle serves us is totally dependent on the mind. The time may come when the vehicle is ready to be retired. Yet the eternal being, part of our being, lives on. What is your spiritual journey? Hannah Kroger is considered by many to be one of the world's leading herbalists. She has assisted with many in recovering their health. Anne Marie and I had the occasion to spend a few days at her center, known as the Chapel of Light. Shortly after arriving, we were engaged in a conversation with Hannah when she paused, looked at me and said, "Rich, would you like to be the guest speaker at my Sunday services?" I replied, "Hannah, it would do me an honor to do so." The chapel was well attended. Many had come a long distance to hear her bits of wisdom. Services began with a brief address by Hannah, followed by a moving musical number played by her son, the organist. Immediately following the musical interlude, Hannah announced that this would be the only music we would hear at the service. She explained that the sewer had plugged up and that her son had to leave to take care of the problem. With that, her son left the chapel. Hannah then announced me as her guest speaker. I looked at the congregation and paused momentarily in thought. With a pleasant smile, I directed my question specifically to a member of the congregation. On a spiritual scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest spiritual rating, how would you rate brushing your teeth in the morning? Giving it some thought, the person replied, about a 3. Turning my gaze to another, I asked, using the same scale, how would you rate eating breakfast? An 8, she replied without hesitation. I considered nourishing my body important. And what about scrubbing the floor? I inquired. Maybe a 2, was the answer. To the person in front of her, I asked, how would you rate going to Sunday services? His eyes sparkled. That would have to be a 10, he responded. As I looked around the chapel, I could see some knowing smiles of those who already were aware of the answer. Each of these things I have mentioned are a 10. See, you are a spiritual being experiencing a spiritual journey. Everything that you do, every breath that you take is a spiritual experience. Smiling, I continued. The reason that I bring this up at this time is because I find it comforting to know that our organist has gone to do his spiritual work. As the laughter subsided, I said, often we have heard people say, oh, I know I'm here for a reason, but I haven't yet figured out what that is supposed to be. Those people are correct. We are all here for a reason. There are no mistakes in the universe. I don't believe the Creator is sitting there saying, boy, I really messed up on this one. I had better call the FDA, the FBI, the IRS, okay, the CIA to get this straightened out. Everything is in divine perfection at all times. Everyone is exactly where they are supposed to be in the moment. As a soul, we have incarnated in physical form to experience and grow. Your spiritual journey in physical form began at the moment of conception. You have shared every thought, every emotion, every anxiety, and the vibrational experience of every energy that your mother exposed herself to. Some refer to Earth as the Earth School. Through our life experiences, we learn, experience, and more importantly, we grow. It is important that we do not become so focused on the lesson that we fail to see the value we received from that lesson. The following story explains it quite well. Traveling down the pathway of our spiritual journey, many notice that the path is a series of stepping stones, each one representing a lesson. As they move to the next stone, they reach behind and pick up the one they have just left. Repeating this with each step, they soon find that they are so weighted with old lessons that they can no longer take another step forward in their journey. The old lessons are no longer of value. Take the value that you have received from these life experiences, which have allowed you to grow in mind, body, and spirit, and let the rest go. It is baggage that no longer serves you. Okay, now we get into story time, okay? 1 second of time. I stood before a group making a presentation. As the lecture progressed, the tennis ball that I held in my hand was beginning to create some questions in their mind. At one point, I turned to a person in the audience and asked, Have you ever played ball? Yes, he responded. Without hesitation, I threw the ball toward him and at the same time instructed, catch the ball. His hand reached into the air and retrieved the ball. I turned to the audience and said, You have just witnessed one of the most incredible things you will ever see." They looked again toward the person to whom I had thrown the ball, straining to see what they might have missed. "In that 1 second," I stated, "I threw the ball in the air in the direction of this man and issued a command, 'Catch the ball.' The vibrations of the words that I had spoken traveled at an incredible speed and were picked up by his ears. These vibrations were relayed to his brain, which interpreted their meaning. Command signals were sent to every part of his body, instructing the appropriate cells to make chemical changes that would create muscle responses. His eyes measured the trajectory of the ball and calculated its exact time of arrival. The brain relayed this information to the body, and at the exact moment, 100 trillion cells responded in perfect harmony as his arm reached forward and his fingers opened and closed on the ball. Now, during this entire time, the heart never missed a beat, the hair cells continued to multiply, his digestive system continued to function, and the blood continued to race through his arteries and veins. Blood, protein, and lymph carrying life-giving nutrients flowed through the body capillaries to nourish every cell of his body. The lymph system removed the waste products of the cell, while the liver and kidneys served their function to eliminate waste from the body. In this 1 second, 6 trillion chemical changes took place in his body, and 10 million cells replaced themselves and died. What an incredible world we have within each of us. We inhabit a world that replaces itself approximately every 11 months, except for the tiny hair-like neurons that send electrical impulses throughout the body. Bones are replaced every 90 days. A new liver every 45 days, new skin every 30 days, the lining of the stomach every 5 days. Even the DNA, which contains enough information to fill 4,000 volumes the size of the Bible, changes every 2 months at the atomic level. We witness miracles every moment of the day, and we are rarely aware of their magnitude. And this miracle began with catch the ball. Miracles are our everyday occurrences. The world within. As a junior reporter for the Daily City News, I was surprised when the editor approached me and asked me if I would write a cover story for the Sunday edition. I was excited. Imagine me writing a feature story. I knew exactly what I was going to write about. I had been planning for this opportunity for a long time, and now it was here. I wanted to write a story that no one had ever done before. I was going to interview a single cell of the human body. In order to do this, I must shrink myself into a microscopic body so that I can enter the human body. It wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. I suddenly found myself in a maze of incredible life forms that I had never seen before. The colors were breathtaking and ever-changing. I realized that I had entered a universe that others were totally unaware of. I could feel the excitement growing within me. "What's up, Queen Amber?" Where was I at? Okay. But now, I had to find a cell that I could interview. Now, this might be more difficult than I first thought. This street seemed to be a major thoroughfare. I thought that if I walked down this way, I'd be able to find someone. I had not walked 100 feet before I saw someone walking toward me. He was wearing a white hat that matched his white suit. He appeared to be in a hurry. Pardon me, sir. I know you're busy, but would you have a few minutes? You see, I am a reporter for the Daily City News, and I have been given an assignment to write a feature story. Would you have a moment to talk with me? He nervously looked at his watch and then at me. "You're right. I am very busy," he replied. "But since you have apparently come a long distance, I'll give you a few minutes. Please make it quick." "Oh, thank you. I will get right to the point." My heart was pounding. I felt as though I was on stage with opening night jitters. Not quite sure where to begin, I asked nervously, "Who are you?" He snapped back, "I'm a white sail. Can't you tell? All you have to do is look at my white hat. It's a dead giveaway." "You're right, I should have known. Do you have a name?" I asked. "Just call me Lucky. Everyone else does." "Lucky?" I asked. "Tell me, what is it that you do?" "I'm one of the good guys," he said. "You can always tell the good guys. We wear the white hats." "Yes, Lucky," I repeated, "but what is it that you do?" "As I said, I'm one of the good guys. My job is to take care of the bad guys, and this world is loaded with them." "Bad guys?" This was starting to get interesting. "What bad guys?" I asked. "You know," Lucky said. "The guys in black hats. They have different names. Some are called viruses and some are called bacteria. They come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. If it wasn't for the black hats, it would be hard to tell them from the regular folks out there. Sometimes it's all I can do to keep them under control." "Wow, it really does sound like you're busy. Is it dangerous?" "Dangerous?" he shouted. "Are you kidding? Hey, this is a high-risk job. It's kill or get killed out there. We don't mess around. I take my job very seriously." "Lucky, you said we don't mess around. You mean there are others beside you doing your work? Is that right?" I asked. "You got it," he snapped back. "There are millions of us trying to keep the world safe." Millions, I thought. This was a bigger story than I had imagined. I could tell from the look on his face that Lucky was serious about his work. Finally, I asked, "Then you work with a team of people in the work that you do?" Lucky laughed. "Team? Are you kidding? It's every man for himself out here. I've got to look out for number one, and that's the guy I see in the mirror every morning when I wake up." "Gosh," I replied. "I would have thought you'd work as a team." I noticed that Lucky was nervously looking at his watch, so I quickly went on. I know you're busy, but there are just a few last questions I would like to ask before you go. Earlier, you said that the people I call cells come in different sizes, shapes, and colors. What colors are they?" "You name it, we got it," he said. "White, black, yellow, red, brown, and about any combination you can imagine." "Tell me," I asked, "what is the population of your world?" "According to the last census, we had about 100 trillion. "Woo! That's a lot of people," I said. Lucky seemed amused at the look of amazement on my face. "You got that right." "Quickly, tell me, Lucky, what are some of the major concerns in your world at this time?" "Pollution," he replied, without hesitation. "The water and air are polluted and getting worse. We're getting foods that are loaded with pesticides and chemicals. We are very concerned about all the toxic waste dumps that are building up all over the place. These are big problems, you know," he added. "If we don't find an answer to this soon, the whole world here is headed for a major collapse. Just look at the litter on the street that you just walked down. Sometimes I think people just don't care anymore." The telephone beeper on Lucky's belt emitted a familiar beep tone. He checked it quickly and said, "I'm being called. I've got another emergency. I hope you got what you needed for your story." He turned and started off down the street. I shouted after him, "Is there anything else I should know?" "Yeah, the wars." He turned and looked at me. "Excuse me." "Wars?" I exclaimed. "What wars?" "We've had wars as long as I can remember. Sometimes it's civil war. Sometimes it's between different countries. There are times the kidney is at war with the liver. Other times the pancreas is at odds with the stomach. I could go on and on. If we could only negotiate peace, then everyone would live in unity and harmony instead of separation and disharmony. What a wonderful world this would be." He turned the corner and was gone. I thought to myself, I've got the makings of a great story. I turned and started walking back up the way I had come, noticing the litter as I went. The world without. What's up, Extra Smoke Dragon? What's going on? What you cooking, Aaron? Because my ass is hungry right now. No shade. The world without. You wake up this morning and you are filled with excitement. All of your life you have wanted to travel into outer space, and you have been selected as one of the very special few to make a space flight leaving this very day. You get out of bed and prepare yourself for the journey. Standing in front of the mirror, you admire yourself in the handsome spacesuit you have selected. Arriving at the spacecraft, you are given last-minute instructions, made secure in a special seat and readied for takeoff. You feel the push of gravity as the craft blasts off and accelerates to incredible speeds. It is difficult to describe your feelings of joy and wonderment as you anticipate seeing for the first time a world that so few have traveled to before. Excuse me. Ooh, that sounds so good right now. I can go for some spaghetti and meatballs and garlic breadsticks right now, Aaron, but ooh, that sounds so good. Later, as you are sitting comfortably in your seat, you casually turn your head to look through the porthole window. Your eyes are drawn to a round blue and white object in the distance. You get out your telescope and focus on the object and, much to your surprise, you realize it is Mother Earth. Her beauty is indescribable. Your hand slides down the telescope and turns the magnification to its highest setting. Once again you look, and the view takes your breath away. As your eyes scan the earth, you become keenly aware of 6 billion people, trillions of animals, birds, fish, insects, and other life forms, trillions of trees, bushes, flowers, grasses, and plants of all types. For the first time, you are aware of the rocks, mountains, and water as living, vibrating life forms. You gaze in awe as you begin to understand the interaction of all this living energy, working together in divine harmony as one incredible life form. It is then that you realize that the earth is but a single cell of the Creator. You lean back in your chair as your mind digests your new discovery. Something catches your attention and your eyes are drawn to the porthole on the other side of the spaceship. As you gaze outward, you become aware of billions of stars, planets, and celestial bodies. As your eyes scan the horizon, you become aware that each galaxy, each universe, is but a single cell of the Creator. The world around us. Peanut butter chocolate shake. Baby, I wish I had, it's funny you said shake because I started thinking about Dairy Queen. Okay, is the universe about to manifest some Dairy Queen in my life? I'm for that. Come on now, I'm with it. The world around us. Shortly after my son David graduated with majors in wildlife biology and wildlife management, he found himself in southern Africa as a wildlife game ranger. The last 3 of his 7 years in Africa would be devoted to elephant research. Over the years, I had produced a number of films, and so I found myself traveling to Africa to produce a film about African wildlife and my son's research work. One afternoon, after several weeks living in the bush, David said that he wanted to spend some time studying the vegetation in the area to see if the elephants were destroying the food chain or instead creating conditions that would result in greater abundance. Since I already had enough film footage of his research work, I suggested that he go without me. I found a comfortable tree to sit against with my camera, hoping to get some shots of elephants, lions, and other large game that might come my way. As was typical for the time of year, the sky was clear and the warm sun was soothing to my body. An hour had passed without any signs of any animals. A moment later, I happened to glance to the ground on my left. I was surprised to see a column of ants within 12 inches of my body. Each one was carrying a grain of food, walking with great determination in single file. I thought to myself, well, where have they come from? I let my eyes follow along the column of ants to the direction from which they had come until the horizon met my eyes. I could not see the end of the column. Wow, I thought. Where are they going? Once again, my eyes began to follow the column, but this time in the direction that they were headed. Again, my eyes reached the horizon, but I could not see their destination. I thought, in terms of human distance, this had to represent 100 miles or so. It was then that I realized there was a second column of ants heading in the opposite direction, returning to the source for more food. I sat and watched, amazed at the dedication and organization of these industrious creatures. Then it struck me that I had been sitting here for the past hour, totally unaware of this world existing a mere 12 inches away. A world so small, I was completely unaware of it. And sitting next to them was a world too large for them to see. Worlds within worlds within worlds. I have often wondered, if I had accidentally stepped on that column of ants, would they have said it was an act of God? Oh, okay? Extra Smoke Dragon, shout out to you, says, I have a friend that does wildlife management in Alaska. Very cool person. We all need our nerds, tree huggers, and others. Yes, we do. We need people there, and that's the thing. A consciousness is rising to where people are starting to delve deeper back into Mother Nature, especially here in the West. The Western culture, we've been indoctrinated through fear. We've been told what to think. We've been put in a box. And this book and individuals like your friend who does it in Alaska and like the person here in Africa, they're put in those spaces and places, and their mind just becomes more open, and then they end up putting it in a book and share it with us. So I appreciate that. So yes, everything has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. In our last section for tonight, which I feel like is very, very, very fitting, which is entitled The Power of Love. Yes, consumerism. Unfortunately, they're benefiting off of every facet of your life, but that's only if you let them. And I'm learning how to find my own power. No shade. And that's through the power of love. Our schnauzer, Fritz, was more than just a dog. He was family. He would have been offended if anyone thought of him as a dog. A constant companion, Fritz would sleep on the bed at night, making himself comfortable as he snuggled against our legs. One morning, I awakened to find that Fritz could not put any weight upon one of his hind legs. I helped him to his feet, and he stood on 3 legs, looking at me sadly, his other leg pointing straight out behind him. I had never seen any dog stand in that manner. I carried him outside for his morning outing, and again, Fritz stood with his leg up, looking hopeless. On my way to work, I dropped Fritz off at a veterinarian and had him examined. Carrying him inside, I set him on the floor in front of the reception desk. Immediately, he began running around the room on all 4s. I thought, you little devil. It reminded me of the time I had taken my car to a garage for them to investigate a strange noise, but when I got there, it wouldn't make the noise. I asked the vet to keep Fritz and observe him for one day, and my wife would pick him up after she got off work. After I informed my wife of the situation, she phoned the vet's office and asked him to clean his teeth while he was there. After all, Fritz was 10 years old and overdue for a teeth cleaning. Later that day, the vet phoned my wife to tell her that in order to clean teeth, they must sedate the animal and put a tube down his throat so he can breathe. However, they could not get the tube down Fritz's throat. Upon examination, we found a tumor on his tonsils, about the size of a small cigar, which they removed. "We suspect cancer," the vet said. "I have shown it to two of my colleagues and they agree. We are sending it to the laboratory for a biopsy, and it will take about 10 days to get a report. There is also a large amount of blood in the stool, so we would like to keep him another day and try to control the bleeding," he added. After being informed of the situation, I calmly said to my wife and another couple who were present, that Fritz would be healed. There was never any doubt in my mind. After picking Fritz up from the vets, I found that he was indeed passing blood in the stool. We had to pin him up at night and place papers on the floor. Beginning that evening and every evening for 4 days, I worked with Reiki healing, the universal energies of love, allowing the energy of pure love to emanate from my hands as I placed them on his head, throat, chest, and stomach. His body burned with high temperature. I would place him on my stomach and chest while I lay on my bed, and I would fall asleep in that position, awaking later when he became restless. All these. On the 5th day, I prepared to leave for an important convention for my company. I was disappointed that I could not stay and continue working with Fritz. As I began shaving, Fritz raced through the bath and bedroom with the vitality of a 2-year-old. I noticed that his hair was shiny and there was a sparkle in his eyes we had not seen for a long time. The following evening, I phoned my wife. She informed me that the vet had called to say the tumor was benign. After the call, I sat on the edge of the bed in my hotel room, deep in thought. Not having been through this experience before, I was puzzled. I was still confident about the intuitive answers I had received that confirmed the vet's earlier belief that the tumor was malignant. The more I thought about this, the more convinced I became that I was correct. I realized that there are universal truths expressed as above, so below, or what exists on one plane exists on all planes. For example, what exists in the physical plane also exists on the emotional or etheric plane, and vice versa. I already knew that the vibrations of each person or animal are truly individual, and that there are no two beings alike in the universe. A good analogy is today's pager. This book is very dated, y'all. We see thousands of persons carrying a little black box on their belt that will emit a beep tone, alerting them that they have received a phone call. Although there are thousands of little black boxes, only one will receive a signal when its unique phone number is dialed. That box is attuned to that specific frequency and no other. When I wipe a dowsing rod with a silver quarter, I energize the rod for that frequency so I can locate that quarter. If I were to cut the quarter in half, I could find each half separately. Therefore, if I were to energize the rod to Fritz's frequency and then remove a part of his body, a tumor, I could also find that part. Fritz's energy field, the sum total of all that he is, mind, body, and spirit, has an individual frequency that is unique in the universe. When you transfer energy on one plane, it is transferred on all planes. It is a universal truth. Therefore, when the healing energy of love was transferred to Fritz, it was received on all planes of his existence. In other words, as the healing of the vibrations of disease in Fritz's body took place, it also took place on all other levels of his being. As his body changed, so did his extracted tumor, regardless of its location in the universe. Healing energy, the same as thought, goes any place in the universe instantly. And like the telephone call, there is only one receiver. Upon arriving home, my wife told me the rest of the vet's conversation. He has said, Mrs. Work, when I removed the tumor, I would have bet anything it was malignant. It was the ugliest tumor I had ever seen, and all my staff agreed it was malignant. But the lab report said it was benign. I am very happy for you and your dog, but I don't understand how I could have been so wrong. How often do doctors call it spontaneous remission or decide that they have made a misdiagnosis simply because they cannot otherwise explain a healing? True, there is a certain percentage of diagnostic errors under normal circumstances, but love heals, prayer heals, and the scientific minded may never understand. Love is the unspoken prayer that resonates through all time and space and beyond, and in all languages. And y'all, that ends part 2 of Awaken to the Healer Within. I encourage y'all to please buy this book. To buy this book, to have a physical copy with you, to remind yourself, because sometimes when I read through, I be stuttering. I might say something wrong. I'm still learning how to enunciate all of my words, no shade, so you can understand what I'm saying. But I encourage y'all to read this book for yourself, and not only just read it, but apply some of the tactics, some of the exercises in your own life. And especially in the Western culture, we underestimate the power of love. Meanwhile, it's what everybody wants. To feel accepted, to feel connected, to be integrated, to be a part of the amalgamation. And again, with love, what you do on one plane, it reverberates on all planes. Not just the physical, but the mental, emotional, spiritual, all that. That's why you have to pay attention to your thoughts and your emotions and get to a place where you can observe them and then decide to put your attention and your intention on what you desire. And once you do that, you have to let it go and enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. And even with me, sometimes I struggle with letting things go because sometimes present circumstances might remind you of that. And it will. But once you do, and once you are reminded, remind yourself also that, oh, it's already done. It's already taken care of. I don't have to worry. It's done. Whenever the thought comes to you, or the fear-based ideology comes into view about the unknown, about the future, observe it. Don't give in to it. Observe it. And to say, yes, this is true right now in this moment, but in this other moment, I'm choosing to believe something different. And I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy enough to believe it, but God damn it, I'm willing to take the risk. That's why I'm to myself. That's why I'm in my cocoon phase, because I'm trying to find out the expression or to strengthen the frequency and vibration of God through the expression of BubzDaGawd that only I can do. Can't nobody do it for me. Can't nobody heal me. Can't nobody save me. Can't nobody do any of these things except me. And it's the same thing for you. And of course, in this Western culture, when we hear that, we become afraid because we've been taught to put our strength into others, to build this rigid, strong, and what we believe to be impenetrable false ideology that doesn't really benefit us. But once you start, and like I said, everything that I'm saying, that I've been saying, and that I probably will say, cannot compare to what the actual unique experience is for you. God, source, universe is real, and we're still learning the expressions of what that looks like. And I just want to do my part to help pay it forward. Because again, when you are blessed, you need to turn around and bless somebody else. That is one of the 7 spiritual laws of success, baby. The law of giving and receiving. Or like I said in this book, when it comes down to electricity, you have to complete the circuit. You have to complete it. So I hope that this helps you all. Take what is yours and leave the rest alone. Okay, please hit that like button to help this channel get up in the algorithms. That will really help me. Okay, that's probably one of the most important things you can do on this channel, because that helps this channel rise up. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that. If you like the vibe and the energy, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell and click all, so you're not late or you're not delayed to my uploads. Because baby, I go live at random times. I'm just following the flow of my own spirit. Okay, and if you feel compelled to, if you want to bless monetarily, you can hit my cash app, which is $BubzDaGawd. Okay, we take anything, jingle, fold, it don't matter. We appreciate all things. But I appreciate everybody on this live. Thank you to everybody who came through. Those who were in the bushes, those who came in and out, and then those in the replay gang. Shout out to Extra Smoke Dragon. Shout out to you. Shout out to Queen Amber in the building. Shout out to Aries. Shout out to Deshawn. Shout out to Queen Spicy in the building. Shout out to King Anubis who came through and graced us. All right, y'all. Well, I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. And I'll be seeing y'all again soon. Or y'all talking to y'all, shall I say. I'll be talking to y'all soon. Enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.